say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone out tonight. Two apologies to begin with. We're in the dark. Something's going on with in the breaker box, and the lighting isn't working up here, so hopefully we'll get that taken care of before next time. Secondly, Mr. Fletcher, he's been sick since Tuesday, and went to the doctor today, so he's not going to be able, he regrets not being able to be here tonight. You know, our first order of business is you're the only hire that the school system the school board actually makes. You know, all of our other hires, our recommendations to us that we approve. But this is actually our only hire, and I know if at any way possible, he would want to be here. So with that being said, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Ms. Austin?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, item 1C is approval of hiring superintendent. Do we have a motion for that?
I make a motion that we hire the superintendent.
Second.
Motion is second. For the hire of Dr. David Scott as our new superintendent of Bristol Virginia Public Schools. Ms. Austin?
Mrs. Fortsever?
Yes.
Mr. Goodpasture?
Yes.
Mrs. Guffey?
Yes.
Mr. Alves?
Yes. And with that, I'd like to introduce to those of you here that are here, Dr. David Scott. So we're going to have a little contract signing here, and but before we do that, Dr. Scott, would you want to say a word or two, and then we'll sign a contract, and then we'll just take just a moment to have just a break so you can meet some folks and have some refreshments there.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank all the members of the board for trusting me with this opportunity. I'm ecstatic about the possibilities that lie ahead for us, and truly grateful for the decision you've made. I am entering my 20th year of education. I've had the good fortune of having a broad list of experiences that I think will help me in this new endeavor. And I'm excited to be joining the team that is already assembled here. I've spent the last couple of weeks looking online and looking at the budget book and looking at the different programs and studies and so forth that are available. All the resources that are available to our students here in Bristol are amazing, and I just cannot wait to join that team and for all the great possible outcomes that are out there for our students and for the community, and just really look forward to serving this community.
Thank you. You want to introduce your family to us?
I'd be happy to. First and most importantly, this is my wife, Renee. Renee is an elementary principal, and I often comment to her that she's the best administrator in our household. In her arms is our youngest. This is Evan. He is very impressed with the bear cat in the loft when you come in. This is my daughter, Zoe. She's 5 years old and getting ready to start kindergarten. Next to her is Andrew. He is 8 and getting ready to go into the 3rd grade. And my big boy is Ryan, and he is 12 and getting ready to go into 7th grade. And they got to see Bristol a couple weeks ago, and were actually in Bristol for the 4th of July. So it has been an impressive exposure for them, and I think that they are looking forward to the transition that lies ahead for all of us.
You have a beautiful family, and we welcome them to Bristol, and it's a great addition to our community. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All right. Well, we'll take a small break, and we'll sign a contract right here.
you can see the steel columns and the arches that are set on both entrances. They are fully up. So it looks great. So it is exciting to see it coming along, and
Hey, on those columns, I know we're having students sign. That'll be when they come back to school. I think they're signing magnets or something and sticking up there.
yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yes. And that is my report.
All right. Item 2B, discussion of merging 4 schools into 2.
Dr. Denobrica.
Good evening, board members. I just wanted to share with you, I've been doing some research on hopefully a way for us to seamlessly take our 4 elementary schools and move them down. We keep saying that we're going from 4 schools to 2 schools, but if you really think about it, we're kind of going down to just 1. Because if you think about the experience of our students, we really want to look at a unified type of experience for them from primary all the way through the intermediate school. So that's a mind shift all of its own because we've been talking so long about going from 4 to 2. So that's kind of a mind shift. And then we want to make sure that we are consistent with what's going on in the primary school so that when students go from first grade on to second, that it's, it feels sort of seamless. So I've been doing some research and I actually found an article about school division in Indiana, and that was by chance, where they consolidated down, and that principal had actually a 2-year plan. So we're a little behind the 8 ball on that, but she had done a lot of research, and so I kind of put together this plan based on what she did, which was successful, by the way. And so looking at using pre-service days this coming year, and then using our election day and using early dismissal days, we'd like to bring our elementary staff together to do a lot of team building, a lot of professional development in terms of looking at strengths and weaknesses, so that we can focus on building an instructional plan that is going to, of course, increase our student achievement as well. And so this is very rough. I was looking at an old calendar. We actually have, I think, 2 or 3 more early dismissal days in the calendar that we can utilize. The other thing we really need to do is get our teachers over to see the new building. They've not been over at all to see it. They see floor plans, but it's so much different when you're walking through the building. So to get them over there at least a couple of times throughout next year, I think would be a great experience for them, even if they're at the primary school, because it's just important for everybody to see our brand new school. And another thing really that in the research that I did is that we do have very, very different cultures across our 4 schools. I know with your visit, you can feel it, and generally speaking, the minute you walk in a building, you can kind of get a feel for the culture, and our schools are different, and they operate differently. So we need to work on what our commonalities are as we bring them together. Oh, well, we did this at Stonewall, or we did this at Highland View, but we want to find the best of the best on all of that and bring that together and have our teachers work together to find all those best practices. So just wanted to kind of share with you, kind of get you thinking a little bit about what we hope to do in terms of using that time throughout this school year, because as a former elementary principal, I know how hard it is sometimes to round up 1 staff and for us to bring 4 of them together. It's not going to happen just by chance. We really need to think it through. So wanted to share that with you. It'll look a little different when we add in those other days. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Thank you. This is wonderful. I'm really excited to see this, and I'm excited to see that you've got some specific dates on there, and some planned things. And I have talked about this before, and maybe you've already heard me, but do we have a plan for transitioning the classrooms the physical stuff the teachers have, is that, the June 3rd visit seems kind of late. I know the building's not done. But I
Correct.
don't want them to be stressed about not knowing what their classroom looks like. You know what I'm trying to say? You
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. I'm working or heading up the furniture committee as well. And so we are, we're purchasing furniture, and I've already had several meetings with all of our different special area teachers and classroom teachers in terms of what we're outfitting those classrooms. Of course, teachers have personal items. We have already set aside some of our ESSER funds to pay our teachers next summer to move the items that I was a teacher once too. I know that's my stuff, and I know where I want it, and I know how I want it moved. And so we have money allotted to pay them throughout next summer.
Okay.
So between the two, I think we should be fine.
Okay.
We should be fine with that, yes. So we do have a little
great,
bit of a
thank you.
plan with that.
So I like the plan, to get the team building and for our teachers to see the building as well. And, when we were looking to build a school, we did a bus tour of all our properties, but, it really might be good to just try to do a bus tour to go to the schools and pick up our teachers and
Yeah,
take them up there to look.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
We had thought possibly on Election Day, which would give us more time, that and they may be even further along at a point that it would make sense, but that definitely seems like a time that would work well for us. And you did hear a couple of board meetings ago, you approved 3 additional early dismissal days for elementary staff, and that was with this type of planning in mind.
Okay. All right.
So as we update this, I certainly can share that with you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for your work and the digging in, doing the research. That's,
Well,
not
this
going in
is a
blind.
unique situation, having a single building for all our elementary students. And getting the groups together is certainly something you have to do, but architecturally, we certainly have a model of diversity, equity, and inclusion for all elementary school students in Bristol.
And I think it's very important to get the teachers settled and content and happy, and then that way the students will also be settled and content and happy.
Absolutely. And I think this plan will help that too.
thank you, Dr. Denalby.
Thank you.
All right, item 2C, discussion of elementary and middle school alternative programs.
Thank you, Mr. Alvis. So this has been a discussion amongst the central office leadership, and I do want you to know I even deliberated on whether this discussion should come tonight or a month down the road, but I feel like for a couple of different reasons, I wanted to seek your input. One of the things that we have done, we have realized that in the elementary setting, we have had some extremely challenging behaviors that really, we believe that if we had some one-on-one aids in some situations, that probably would take care of the situation. And with this ESSER money, we feel like we could hire some additional instructional aides who could help out in that arena for the elementary students. Now, and we understand that this is a one-year commitment, and then we can evaluate where we are at the end of the year. The main discussion piece of this, though, I wanted to talk about Virginia Middle School, and they have an alternative program. Those of you who have been on the board for a while may remember that we have had a relationship with Boys and Girls Club, and even back in the early 2000s, we had written a grant. Vicey Dotson had actually written the grant, and we had a program when students were suspended out of school, they were placed at Boys and Girls Club. It was called the Life Program, and they did their schoolwork when they were suspended, and then in the afternoon, they did community service. And then one time after that, the teen center at the time, which was the separate building to Boys and Girls Club, we actually housed the middle school alternative program in that setting. And so we are talking about, we are investigating to see if that would even be a possibility on Boys and Girls Club's part. I mean, they would have to be willing to participate. And the reason that I bring that up to you is because last year we removed some students from school because of primarily for marijuana or substances associated with marijuana that were middle school students. We placed them in the Region 7 Virtual Academy, and so they were not on school grounds whatsoever, but most of them did very, very little. And we are concerned about the fact that they're not continuing in their education. They're going to be coming back to us this year, and they're just going to be further behind. And our thought was that, if we use Boys and Girls Club, we could possibly place these students, and it would not include every student. There are certain situations that we would want to remove them from the school setting altogether. But there might be some considerations for allowing students, even though we might place them in the virtual academy, but we would allow them to come to us and we would serve them. They would have a teacher through the Region 7 Academy, but we would support them in their academics. And so I wanted to present that to you as we hate this idea, and then we know we will not go down that road. But if it sounds like something that you might be open to, we would continue that investigation. And that's really why I'm bringing it to you tonight. I'm seeking your input on, is this a good idea, or let's rethink this.
I think using Boys and Girls Clubs makes sense, particularly since you've done it before. And if you can, I don't know what their situation is now, but if you can leverage that asset to help these children, I think you need to explore it.
One plus is we are using a classroom right now, and even 10 students who are all working individually, you can't hardly spread them out enough. And having Boys and Girls Club, having an aide and a teacher, and possibly even another aide, if we decided that we were going to allow these students that we put out, we would just, we would make a decision once we feel like we are to that point that it's time to do so. But it does give you room. It would give you a gym that could be available to them, which, you have to be very careful in trying to structure those activities at the middle school. So there are some pluses to doing that.
So as far as funding, is there grants out there for stuff like that now? Or?
I do not
just-
know of any. I mean, I think that we could probably shore that up this year, and then it's going to become a budgetary item. I mean, it may be something that we realize we cannot continue doing. Hopefully, we could come back and share great successes about doing that and figure out a way to be able to sustain that.
So both of these, we could do with ESSER money. Is that kind of what you're thinking? The elementary and middle school this year?
We have already obligated the money to be able to do all that other than the Boys and Girls Club piece. And I have no idea right now. Ms. Hurt is working on that piece, and she's in Roanoke right now, Federal Programs Conference. So, but she has already had conversations with Boys and Girls Club.
I think it's worth looking into, and if we can try it, and see if we can get a value of it, in 1 year's time, and then we can reassess it next year to see where we can come with funds for it if we need to.
Or would you be open, I think what I would be comfortable doing is maybe putting together something that relates to issues that come before the disciplinary hearing, and in the past, we've just sent them to Region 7 without an opportunity to be in school, and which ones of those we would not allow to come into the school setting and the ones that we would. So you could kind of look at, the thinking as to what, because, I share all of those cases with you, but, it would be easy because I sit in on all those disciplinary hearings to be able to give you a pretty good idea as to how that might work.
For me personally, having, as you were talking, like a spreadsheet of here's the number of kids, here's the offenses we're seeing, here's the disposition, because I read all those reports, but they kind of, blur together. So something like that, I think, would be really helpful and, of course, would also be helpful for procuring funding from outside sources.
When you say you're talking about the virtual academy, so these students would be on Zoom?
They would be.
Where are they going to be?
They would be in a classroom with the teacher,
Okay,
with our teacher.
okay.
So I was trying to think before virtual and Zoom and all that, when we had students, when we put them in alternative school, weren't they here doing a program on their own? Is
That's
that what,
correct.
is that what was going on?
And that's exactly what we do at the high school.
Okay.
That's what we do at the middle school right now. It's called Edgenuity. And we have incredible success at the high school. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have incredible teachers at the high school who are leading those programs. And many of those students, when they go into alternative, they graduate high school. They pass SOLs. But that's what they are doing. And we actually modeled the way we're doing the alternative program at the high school. We traveled to Johnson City and looked at their alternative program. And one of the things they were doing differently than what we were doing is they take one class at a time. And the teacher at the beginning of the day has their goal, and they have to complete so much percentage, so much coursework in that day. And so once they complete a course, they move on to the next course. So, and that has worked incredibly well.
Yeah, I think it's worth exploring.
Yes.
Get some data back to us, I guess, where we can see, what we're looking at, how many, the kinds of offenses that we're going to be.
So you'd be taking, a student would be doing these one day or concentrating on one subject. So how many subjects in a semester?
We are not doing that at the middle school. They are taking their full core of subjects. At the middle school, they would be taking the same number of classes that a middle school student would be taking. We have not elected to do one at a time,
Yeah.
the way we're doing at the high school. Part of that has to do with the fact that at the high school level, they're not taking near as many SOL tests. It becomes more complicated when, at the end of the year, a seventh grade student has all these SOL tests to take. And they need to be in those subject areas until they're ready to take the test.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's get us some info together and we'll see what's happening there. All right, item 3A is public comment. I don't have any cards, but if anybody wants to speak, just come to the podium, state your name, and you got 3 minutes. Anybody wants to speak?
I'd like to make a public comment. Mr. Fletcher voted yes for our superintendent.
Yeah. Yeah, I needed to add that. Thank you, Mr. Goodpasture. It was a unanimous decision for Dr. Scott, so
So it's unanimous.
yes, it was a unanimous. All right. All right. That takes us to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any discussion, questions? Ms. Austin?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, item 5A, approval of VSBA policy updates, BCEA, disciplinary conduct, and BDDL, electronic participation in committee meetings from remote locations.
Thank you, Mr. Alvis. I have two policies that I wanted to bring to your attention. Of course, you approved several policies tonight in the consent agenda, and there will be another group of policies that will be coming to you in the August board meeting. Specifically, though, two policies I want to bring to your attention. Policy BCEA is a policy that we have had on the books since 2019.
Let me interrupt you. What is BCEA? Please, the initials of all these things.
Yeah, let's see. Policy BCEA is disciplinary committee.
But what do the initials stand for?
It's just the code for, in the policy manual.
Okay,
It's just
so
the code.
it's not a,
Yes, sir.
not an initialism.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. And so, in this policy, it talks about a disciplinary review panel, which we have. We have had since 2017. You appointed that. And we created a regulation. In fact, there are about 4 different regulations that were vetted by our school board attorney to make sure we were in compliance with all of the policies. And we established this disciplinary hearing team that is made up of 2 central office members and 1 administrator, okay? So that is what we have been doing. And the only thing that I can say, because I have brought this policy to you, is the fact that I did not read close enough. This policy talks about a disciplinary hearing committee that's made up of 3 school board members. Well, we do not have school board members on that committee. It's made up of central office members. So my recommendation is that BCEA, which we currently have, we have adopted it. It's an optional policy anyway, and I think it needs to be deleted from our policy manual because we already have a regulation and a policy that covers all of that. I'll go through the next one unless you.
Let me just add to that.
Sure.
So the reason we did that committee is as a board, we were hearing every disciplinary case, every action. And we had one case, so I've been on here 13 years, we had one case where they wanted to appeal the decision. Well, it says in the letter to them that you're coming to a hearing and you can appeal the decision. Well, we were the board making the decision. There was no appeal process. And so that's when we decided to do the committee and let the committee do the disciplinary. And then if the parent wanted to appeal or guardian wanted to appeal, then they could come to us with an appeal for that case. So that's kind of why we went to the committee.
Okay, and then the second policy is policy BDDL, electronic participation in committee meetings from remote locations. And we do not have this policy in place as of right now. It would be a new policy for us. And we had a conversation, we think we have done this some already, where there might be a special ed advisory luncheon, and we would allow somebody to tune in via remote. If any of you wanted to do that, we have a policy that's been established to allow us to do that. And so by adopting this policy tonight, it would give you the flexibility. Already we have a policy in place for you to be able to come in virtually, and I know we have done that 1 or 2 times before. So it really seems to me if we already have that practice in place, it would make sense to put this one in place as well.
So the new policy is not redundant of the existing policy?
It is not, this policy specifically talks about committee meetings.
Okay.
The other policy was really just for us as a board, calling in and that type of thing. So do I have a motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion to approve these policies.
Second.
But it's to remove one policy and
Remove one
approve one,
and
right?
approve
Yeah, okay.
the other.
Friendly amendment to your motion.
So removing and adopting.
Right. Did you second?
Oh, I just said I was making a friendly amendment to Ms.
Oh, okay.
Guffey's motion, and
I'll
Mr.
second it.
Goodpasture
Frank
seconded
seconded,
it.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
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 Yes. Item 5B, approval of 2023-2024 school board meeting schedule.
Mr. Alvis, the dates for our school board meetings are before you. And I do want to point out, and Stephanie, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we may have one date that after spring break that occurs a Monday later than we could have scheduled it. And that really does help us, quite frankly, at central office to get our ducks in a row before the board meeting. So that probably is a selfish request, but other than that, I think most of these follow the typical Monday board
That
meetings.
April 15th.
Yeah.
It seems like we've done that the last
I
few
think
years
that's what we
too,
have,
and
yep,
it really
yep.
helps to get everything back on track.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us want to come to a meeting the Monday night after spring break.
Well, since I put all those dates in my phone, I would move that we accept this.
And I did the same, so I will second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Ms. Austin?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, item 5C, approval of granting acting superintendent permission to hire new employees between July 11, 2023 and August 7, 2023 in consultation with the school board.
Mr. Alvis, we are incredibly excited that tonight we're going to be hiring a couple of teachers. But we still have a few that are hanging out there. We're interviewing one tomorrow, and I think we are interviewing for another position on Wednesday. So just asking, we are to that time of the year that we need to get them
In here.
to the table as quickly as we can. So I would, as we collect that information, Ms. Hudson and I will forward that on to you and make sure we get your blessing before we would move forward, if that's okay.
Do we have a motion?
I move we approve granting the acting superintendent permission to hire new employees between the dates listed above.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Austin?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, item 6, closed session. Ms. Hubbard, you want to read us in?
I'm not prepared. Okay. Pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia, I move that the board convene a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following matters: discussion of certain personnel and recommendation for employment.
Second.
It's part of it.
Okay, okay. The end.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, with that, we'll go to closed session.
The Bristol, Virginia School Board certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting, and only such public matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were considered.
Second.
Ms. Austin?
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Do we have a motion to approve attachment A?
I'll make a motion to approve attachment A.
Second?
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
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 Yes. We need a motion to approve the request for release from compulsory school attendance due to religious convictions, number 03CA 2023. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
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 Yes. Any old or new business? All right. Hearing none, we're adjourned.